Welcome back in, my beautiful builders, to some more ATM7 to the sky. And I have a big episode planned for you guys today. As you can see, we have a ton of blocks behind me. And by the end of the episode, I want every single one of these blocks to be automatically made and put into our ME system. So we have a lot of work to do, but that's not all. This is not the only automation that we're going to do today. We are also going to rework our Sieve setup because right now, yeah, we got a pretty good setup. It's looking pretty good back here, nice and clean. However, if we go inside, you can see that we, first off, don't have it hooked up to our AE system, but also we're still collecting up the pieces instead of actually turning it into the ores. So I want to change the pieces into the raw material. So in this case, iron pieces into raw iron, and then raw iron into iron ingots. And I want to do that for everything that we can. So lots and lots of processing is going to happen today. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first thing that I really need to craft today is going to be ender chests, and not just the normal vanilla ender chests. No, those aren't going to do. Instead, we want some of these modded ender chests because these are going to be incredibly useful to us today. And just to give a quick tutorial on how these things work, they are much better than the normal ender chests that we have in Minecraft. So where in normal Minecraft you only have one set of ender chests per player, these can actually be encoded. So let's say that we have white here, and we put this in the ender chest. As you can see, if we go over to this other ender chest, it has that dye in it, right? So we can go ahead and take that out. Now let's say that I go ahead and encode this and put the middle one as a nice cyan. I go ahead and open this up, put the cyan in here, and as you can see, no cyan. That's because this one is now encoded to white, cyan, and white, which means that only another ender chest with this code will have the cyan dye on it. So if I go ahead and I just take a single piece out here and I put another ender chest right here with the exact same code, I put in this stuff. You can see that these chests are linked together too, by the way, because they open together at the same time. Really cool stuff. So these are actually going to be incredibly useful for us today. Okay, so the first thing that I need to do is set up some filters so that anything that I don't want to go into the compacting system goes directly into storage instead. So in this case, I only want the cobalt and the gold to go into the compacting system, so everything else I'm going to filter out immediately. So if we go ahead and head to the back here, we have this chest set up already, and what I'm going to do is I have an advanced pipe upgrade in this pipe, and I can just set up a whitelist for all of these things that I need filtered out immediately. What that's going to do is that is going to leave all of the pieces, so in this instance gold and also cobalt, whenever we get some of that, is just going to stay in this chest. And what I'm going to do is then I'm just going to take an item pipe and I'm just going to place it right here, and then I am going to wrench it, and there we go. All of the gold and the cobalt should end up in this ender chest. And this ender chest is the exact same for all of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up filters for each one of these guys, and I'm just going to item pipe, pipe wrench, and now we're going to have iron going in there as well. So we're going to have each and every type of piece going into all of these ender chests. So we're basically getting all of our pieces all into one chest for us to then compact them down. Alrighty, so now that we have made a pretty good mess here with the ender chests, everything is all clogged up, so it is time to start with some compacting. And we're going to use the flux compactors that we used earlier on in the series to make blocks for building, but these things are actually really useful to combine pieces into the raw ores. However, one issue that we're going to have is we did just put all of our ores all in one place. So we have iron mixed in with gold, mixed in with uranium, mixed in with cobalt. That's a problem because we want all of this separated into its own compactors. So we want iron here, we want osmium here, we want gold here, so on and so forth. We want all of the compactors nice and separated. Well, we can't actually do that with the pipes mod that we've been using. Instead, we're going to have to use a logistics mod such as XNet. And XNet is actually super, super powerful. So what we're going to do is set down this XNet controller here. And this is going to be the brains of our operation and how we are going to set up channels and also program our different connectors to do the logistics that we need it to do. This sounds very complicated, but trust me, it's not. You'll get it as we go through this. So, okay, this is our controller. Let's go ahead and let's set up a connector. You know what? For demonstration purposes, I'm going to do it to the outside, but here in a minute, I'm going to swap these over because I can't have them connect to both at one time. But for right now, let's just do it to one side, and we will call this good. So we also need power for the controller. So we will do a flux point just like this. And now we have the controller powered. Now we need to connect the controller. So once again, another connector. And then we can just run some cable from here into the controller. Nice and easy. I'm going to clean all of this up here in a minute, but for demonstration purposes, now you can see we have the controller connected to that flux compactor. Now I want to hook up our ender chest. So I'm just going to set it right here for now, and I'm going to replace this cable with, once again, another connector. So now if we go ahead and we check out our controller, we will see the ender chest and the flux compactor are in place. Okay, so how do we get the items out of the ender chest and into the compactor? Actually very simple. So what we're going to do is we're going to select channel 1 here. And the first thing that's going to have us do is select what type of logic we're going to be working with. In this case, we are going to be messing with XNet item. And then we're going to hit create, and that is going to create this channel for us. Now on this channel, we can create modules for our different items that we're wanting to work with. So I can click this channel on this item, and I can hit create, and now you can see we have a little eye here. That little eye means that we are inserting. We actually don't want to insert from our ender chest. We want to extract. So I can just hit this button here, and this is now in extract mode. We can extract single items, a specific number of items, a stack of items. We can do it however we want. So I'm going to do a stack, and we're going to give, I don't know, 60 ticks in between for right now, just so that we have a little bit of a test. So we're extracting, but now we need to import, and we want to import into our flux compactor here. Now, one thing that I should note is if you are extracting from one item and importing into another, those have to be on the same channel. So I can't put the import over here, for instance. The import has to be on the same channel as what you're exporting from. So what we'll do is we'll just hit create, and then we have, once again, an insert. And this time I want to insert... it looks like it just decided for me and started doing gold. All right, that's fine. Looks like we're doing gold there. So we'll do insert, and we'll set up a whitelist for gold, and that will be the only thing that it will insert into this flux compactor now. Nice and easy. This thing is working. We just need to get it power, and then we need to get it an output underneath. Nice and simple. That is the basics of XNet. So what else I could do is I can actually extract from this as well. So I can remove these blocks at the bottom, and since the flux compactor automatically extracts out of the bottom, we can just put down these XNet connectors, and we can have these on our system. And oh, I didn't connect the cable. That would probably help, wouldn't it? There we go. So now you can see all of the compactors are here. If you don't know which one you need to look at or which one you need to work with, what you can do is you can actually look for the one that you already have set up, or you can double click and it'll highlight the block that you're messing with there. So very nice, very easy for us to see what we're working with. And then we can just extract out of here. So from this, we can hit extract, create, extract, and we can move a stack, and we can pull it out of there and put it into another ender chest, for instance. So that's it. That is XNet, and that's going to be how we utilize it. However, I'm going to pretty this up because this was all just for demonstration purposes. I want to make sure that my wires are all pretty. Okay, so I'm still working on getting these compactors set up, but let me tell you about a mistake that I made so that you don't make the same thing. So I thought that what I could do was just whitelist the items that I wanted to go directly into storage. That works most of the time. However, because these pipes are both being extracted from this singular chest, what we actually have is a race condition. So whichever pipe fires off first is what gets the item, except for the ones that aren't allowed here. But let's say lapis, right? Lapis is allowed to go this way. But there's nothing saying that lapis can't go this way as well, because this one doesn't have a whitelist at all. Or in this case, what we'll probably set up is a blacklist. So because of that, what's happening is this is extracting lapis most of the time, but every now and then this guy gets some lapis and it can clog up this system. So I need to set up a blacklist to keep all of these items out of our ender chest. Just something that you should keep aware of in case you're doing this yourself. And there we go! The XNet system is now set up, and this clog is taken care of. However, we have another clog. Over here at the end, we are absolutely filled to the brim with the raw ores now. However, I don't actually have anywhere to store these, which is where we're going to have to redo some of our drawers here. I'm actually going to change out some of these drawers as well. Instead of using spruce drawers, I'm going to use some ender drawers. So things like iron that appear in more than one place, like we get iron from gravel, but we also get iron from sand. I would like for that to all be one drawer, and we can do that by using ender drawers. So whatever is in this drawer is also in this drawer. And what that means is also if the iron gets imported into this controller or this controller, it doesn't matter because they share an inventory. They're very, very useful, and we can also do that with things like gold. And that is how we will start stockpiling our ores in the raw form and also with shared networks between them if they happen to be the same thing. So I know that may not have made a ton of sense with just words, so there you go. If we take the iron in and out of one, you can see that it is the exact same for the other. That is an ender drawer. Alrighty, and I think the drawers are now set up exactly how I want them. Most of the ores I have changed over to ender drawers, and the reason for that is I actually want to do some automation with these guys in the future. So even if they don't have a matching pair here in the sieving room, they may have a matching pair elsewhere in the base in the future. Also, all of these guys over here are all of the extra pieces that eventually I am going to compact down and also reclaim those upgrades from them. So eventually that is going to happen, but for right now, we need to finish setting up the ores, getting them into the storage controllers. So the way that we're going to do this is we're just going to pipe right here. We're going to set down a ender chest, and we need our pipe wrench out. We can just pipe wrench just like that. And last but not least, we need the gray dye in order to link this guy to this guy over here. And theoretically, it should be pulling out the things that can actually fit in this section. So it was just pulling out gold. And if we go ahead and check and see, gold is indeed an item that can fit in here. Perfect. So now we're going to do the exact same ender chest for all of the sections, and it should filter automatically because of the storage controller. So very simple, same thing over and over and over again, and hopefully this works. I also already configured the new drawers. I did that before I brought you guys back, but yeah, these are already configured, so this should just work. It should just work. And there we have it. If you look really, really close, every now and then, you can see some raw ores flashing into the ender chest. Nice. And this is completely done. And I have to say, it came out pretty well. Almost exactly as I planned. I had a little hiccup here and there, but for the most part, exactly how I planned. And everything is now being processed into raw ores. This is awesome. Okay, so Future Killer Drone here, and I actually decided to get rid of using the ender drawers, and the reason for this is I'm going to be using Applied Energistics 2 in order to manage all of the ores that are being produced here, so having ender drawers is kind of useless in this case, because I can do the exact same thing that I can do with ender drawers with Applied Energistics. However, I thought that the ender drawers would be a nice little utility as an extra. However, there is a problem with the ender drawers, and the reason that I decided to stop going with them is, you see, you have your utilities over here that you can add in void upgrades and things. However, there is no capacity upgrades that you can add to the ender drawers. So, like here, if we go ahead and check out our raw iron, we can upgrade the storage to where we can store 65,000 raw iron. Whereas this guy is capped. I can only store 8,000 in an ender drawer. So, yeah, I don't want this. I want to be able to bulk keep items, so I swapped everything back. And the things like gold that has 7,000 over here, and let's see, 400 over here, those will still be picked up in Applied Energistics, because I'm going to hook up Applied Energistics to the storage controllers, and bada bing, bada boom, those guys are just going to, their totals are just going to be added. So we'll have 400 plus the 700 or 7,300 over here. So we'll have the, what is that? That's 7,700? Yeah. All in Applied Energistics. So just update. Ender drawers, really, really cool utility, but not something that I'm going to use here anymore, just because the capacity is not enough. So this happens to be a lot of different blocks that we need to automate. However, a lot of these are pretty simple. A lot of them are igneous extruder recipes. They are just smelted versions of other recipes. So, for instance, the terracotta is just smelted clay, or it's things that we had set up previously, like obsidian with the blast chiller. We've already set up this earlier in the series, and I just need to reset it up because I tore it down at one point because I had to build a building. So, but yeah, gravel, sand, dust, all of these we've done plenty of times before. Then we have cobblestone, which is obvious, the cobblestone generator, and then 2 more igneous extruder recipes for netherrack and deep slate. It looks intimidating, but all of this is stuff that we've done before. The only thing that's going to be the problem now is wiring. And this, my friends, is the power of the igneous extruder. This thing makes automating blocks super, super easy. So all of these are now completely automated. We have the cobblestone just from a cobblestone generator. We have gravel from a hammer and a cobblestone generator. We have sand from 2 hammers. Dust from 3 hammers. Then we have the obsidian from the blast chiller, and we just have a superheating element underneath a crucible, and that crucible is being fed with a cobblestone generator in order to get lava. That lava is pumped into this blast chiller, and the blast chiller makes the obsidian. Obsidian's pulled out and put into the storage drawers. Then we have stone, netherrack, endstone, cobbled deep slate, black stone, andesite, diorite, basalt, and granite, all being made by igneous extruders at the back. None of the igneous extruders actually require power, so these things just make this stuff passively. However, you do need things like witch water, you need glowstone, redstone, each type of block for your alternative stone blocks, so andesite, diorite, granite, soul soil, you need magma blocks. it's kind of a pain to get the stuff, but once you have it, this thing just makes blocks passively, and it's super awesome. However, we're missing two. We are missing clay and terracotta, and these two are going to be the hardest of all of them to automate. And cleaned up the piping just a little bit more. Okay, so before we get into automating clay and terracotta, I actually want to properly set up my Applied Energistics 2 system, because the way that we had it set up was kind of a noob's way. We actually don't want to set up things by just directly connecting into an ME controller. It's actually highly inefficient for the way that Applied Energistics 2 works, but in order for me to explain everything that we're doing, we're gonna have to take a little bit of a nerdy deep dive into how channels work in Applied Energistics for me to explain everything. So let's talk about channels. In an AE2 system, each item that you add to a network takes up a channel. So this drive takes up a channel, this drive takes up a channel, this drive takes up a channel, and the crafting terminal itself takes up a channel. So that is 4 channels. Now, with your basic glass cable, you can transfer 8 channels. So if I had one of these guys hooked up to my controller, or just hooked up in general, we can transfer 8 channels and hook up to our ME system. That's great, but we can actually transfer a lot more channels than that by using dense cable. So dense cable allows for 32 channels. However, you can't directly hook up systems to the dense cable. Instead, what you need is to downgrade. So you have to go from dense down to something like your glass cable in order to power things on. The dense cable cannot directly attach to anything. So, well, anything other than cable itself. So if I go ahead and do something like this, as you can see, it's attaching, but these aren't actually going to work. If I go ahead and set my terminal up, as you can see, we're blank. We have absolutely nothing going on here. Also, my terminal placed the wrong way around, but anyway, as you can see, dense cable, it doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. What we have to do is we instead have to downgrade to something like smart cable, and then we can just put our crafting terminal back, and bada bing, bada boom, we have a working system once again. Okay, so 32 channels come out of this main pipe, and then we can take 8 out at a time in order to, set up our system. Makes perfect sense. So everything in Applied Energistics, for the most part, there are some exceptions, but everything takes up a channel. So you have to understand this in order to know how many slots you have available in order to do processing. Okay, so these were interfaces. We'll cover those in just a minute, but let's go ahead and talk about the smart cable. As you can see on this smart cable, there is lines. And each one of these lines is how many things are plugged in at the moment. So, like I said, we can have 8 things plugged in through smart cables, and each one of these lines represents a thing plugged in. So the blue line says 1, 2, 3, 4 things are plugged in. And then the black lines are available channels. So we have 4 available channels and 4 used channels, which makes sense. We have 3 drives and 1 crafting terminal. That is 4 channels already taken up right here. Okay, so that is the basics on channels, and it makes sense, right? It makes sense. It's pretty simple to understand, but let's go ahead and throw a curveball and talk about P2P tunnels. So P2P tunnels, you can think of as kind of a teleporter interaction machine. And I really can't think of a better way to explain what these do. But if we go ahead and we hook up some smart cable here, and let's set up another interface or something like that on this side. Okay, so this is the way P2P works. Anything that is in front of this block, so let's say that I have a controller, for instance, whatever's in front of here is also available on the other side. So, for this case, like I said, each one of these faces for the ME controller can provide 32 channels. So by providing a P2P tunnel, we can do 32 channels are now over here. That's how P2P works. So if we have a 32 channel system over here, we now have 32 channels right here. All we have to do is link them up using a memory card, which I have in my ME system, which I definitely need to have this out. It's called a memory card, this guy. So what I can do is I can do this, and we can do that. Something like that, and these are linked, and if they had power, we would have 32 channels from here over to there. And we can utilize this in order to move 32 channels, or a lot more channels than that, all over the place in our base. Okay, so now that we know the basics of channels, let's go ahead and start wiring up our ME controller, and we're going to get a little bit more advanced with this. So the first thing that I want to do is use some cable anchors in order to stop the connection between our ME drives and our controller here. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and set up our interface so that we have something that we can test with here in a minute. So as you can see, this isn't working because we are not connected up anymore, and these cable anchors are going to make sure that we do not connect up to this ME controller. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to utilize a technique called subnetting, and we're going to have a second applied energistics network down here that is managing the channels from our first network. And this is where things get a little bit complicated, but let's work from the second network. So this is our second applied energistics 2 network. And what we're going to do is we are going to run dense cable right up the center of our main network. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to hook up P2P connections into this subnetwork. So what we can do is let's go ahead and get our P2P tunnels on our hotbar, and we'll just run one to each of the faces here, and then we can hook them up with smart cable just like that. So we now have 6 P2P connections, and I can run these 6 P2P connections into this subnetwork. Now, right now we actually have power here, but in just a second it's going to turn off. That was from me testing earlier. So this subnetwork is not working because we have the P2P hooked up, but we don't actually have power over here. In order to get power over here, what we're going to do is we're going to set down a quartz fiber. Quartz fiber allows for power transfer, but not channel or network data transfer. So this is how we can power our subnet. So I can just put another smart cable there, and now we have power. Okay, so all of that seemed really complicated, but what did we just do? Well, what we did was we added 6 P2P channel connections to this ME controller. What does that mean? Well, each one of these P2Ps is facing a controller, which means it has 32 potential channels. So we have 6 of these P2Ps that can provide us 32 network connections whenever we move them across. So essentially what I can do now is I can take dense cable and I can run it anywhere in the base that I need to, just like this. And whenever I need a P2P connection, I can just drop down to a smart cable and then place a P2P connection, and bada bing, bada boom, ladies and gentlemen. This, if I hook it up to one of these using our memory card, this will give me 32 connections directly. That is the power of subnetting and P2P. So I just moved 32 connections into this end right here. Pretty cool, right? Now, if I need more than 32 connections for whatever reason, I still have, you see, this is only taking up one channel. So what I can do is I can set up another one, and then I can do another P2P, and bada bing. Now I have 64 connections right here out of those P2P tunnels. That is how you use a subnet along with P2P tunnels in order to set up applied energistics 2. So let's actually start utilizing this stuff, and we're going to get our network back online for our drives. Okay, so in order to get my network set back up, it's going to be as simple as providing a P2P tunnel to the bottom of a ME drive. So if I can place this, there we go. And then we'll just hook it up to a smart cable underneath. And now all I need to do is set this up to one of these P2P tunnels up here. So let's just say that I want to make a memory card so that we are linking from this tunnel over to this one. And now, theoretically, this thing is back online. And our entire ME system is set up to this P2P tunnel at this point. Super, super cool. So I can have 32 things set up off of that ME drive that is hooked up now. Super, super cool. And again, essentially what we have going on here is this exactly. We are teleporting, sort of, this ME controller block to wherever we need it in our base so that we have access to this face of the ME controller, which will give me 32 channels. This is so cool stuff. Like, I really hope that I explained it well because it's actually super interesting. And from here, we can start utilizing things like interfaces to help with automation. So theoretically, I can just shift, right-click this guy, come over to our controller once again, and then right-click this guy, and then all I should have to do is run some cables over to our block storage, which I have left a block missing underneath the controller so that I can put down a storage bus. So just like that, and then smart cable there and there. And theoretically, now that should be hooked up and we should see all of our block storage in our ME system. And we do. 51,000 sand. 17,000 gravel. It is all here. Absolutely perfect. Now, because of that, I can also go ahead and set up some automation to do with the clay. So I have my cables run over here, and I'm going to go with a pretty simple setup here, I think, for the clay, and I'm going to use an ME interface in order to do it. So we'll just have some item pipes coming out of here. And I'm going to have a lot of inventory management to do here, but we're basically going to extract out into 6 barrels. So there we go. 6 barrels are now in place, and we also have our sink down here, and this is filling with an advanced pipe upgrade so that all of these barrels should stay full of water all of the time. So now I think we just need to set down a vacuumulator, which is basically just a fancy vacuum block, and it'll vacuum up all of the items around this area and put it into this inventory. And now I think we just need to export out of the vacuumulator, so we can do an item pipe for that, and we'll do pipe wrench like this. We'll put down a ME interface that we can pipe into, and this time we'll just go straight into our network, and that should be simple enough. Now, all I want to do is grab out dust, and we'll grab out 6 since we have 6 barrels, and we'll go ahead and tell this ME interface to provide 6 dust all of the time to this system. Perfect. Okay, so we have all of this set up except for this guy. Why did you not get any dust, my friend? Oh, did it go? Huh, okay, hold on. Maybe this broke. There we go. There we go. All right, all 6 of them now have clay. Perfect. And now I just need something to right-click these barrels and pop the clay out so that the vacuumulator can pick it up. So we should be able to do that very easily with some player sims. Alrighty, and now as you can see, this thing is indeed working. However, I don't think that these pipes are actually moving fast enough because we do have a little bit of backup here in the vacuumulator, and all 6 of these pipes aren't filling fast enough. So I think I need an upgrade in this slot here, as well as I'm going to need an upgrade in this slot here. And that should, theoretically, although I am getting a clay mess now, maybe this guy's not such a good idea. Maybe we'll go with something other than an advanced upgrade. However, an advanced should work perfectly fine for this guy. Maybe we'll just do a basic upgrade here. Yeah, let me go grab one real quick. Alrighty, so I think I got this thing tuned properly now, and I have an advanced upgrade coming out of the ME storage itself, and that is immediately depositing into these 6 barrels. However, I slowed down the water rate by using only a basic pipe upgrade down here. So we're only moving 100 millibuckets per tick of fluid, so 100 millibuckets per tick of water in this case. So it does slow it down quite a bit so that this vacuumulator can actually keep up. It could probably be sped up a little bit, but I don't need clay super quickly and in haste usually. So this will be fine. I just want it to be consistent and to work. The next thing that I want to do is I want to shut this pipe off whenever we have enough clay. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take a smart cable out like this, and I'm going to place down another new block, a level emitter. So let's go ahead and let's just put down a level emitter right there. And what we're going to do is we're going to set this to emit a redstone signal whenever levels are above or equal to this limit. And we're going to set this limit to 6,000. So whenever we have 6,000 clay, we want this redstone torch to come on, and then we are going to say off when powered. So whenever we have 6,000 clay in our system, it's going to power on this torch, which is going to shut off this pipe, which is going to stop the extraction of this dust. Nice and simple system. Very compact as well. I absolutely love how easy this came together. Let's go ahead and turn our magnet on for a second. And now, because I have over 6,000 clay, I have 9.5 thousand at the moment, this thing will not be running. However, if we ever drop below 6,000, this thing will run until we catch back up to 6,000. So that also lets us to where we have a buffer of dust in case we need it. So we will, you know, have this buffered up, and then we can make terracotta from this clay pretty easily, actually. So in order to automate our terracotta production, all we're going to do is something similar. We're going to place down an interface like this. We're going to place down a netherite furnace, and I think that I can configure this furnace out of the bottom to have input/output, and all of the rest of these should be fine. So now we will input out of the bottom, and we will output out of the bottom, and the input is going to be clay, and we are going to do actually an entire stack of clay to make sure that it is filled all the time. So just like that. And then is this going to input automatically, or am I going to have to pipe? I think I'm going to have to pipe, maybe. No, perfect. Okay, so that went ahead and filled up. Let's go ahead and do I have... Yes, I have a factory upgrade, just like that. And you didn't like that, buddy, but that's fine. And this is automatically filling. Perfect. It's kind of slow with the filling, but I guess we'll see how fast this goes. I know it's going to go pretty fast, but we'll see exactly how this works. Let's go ahead and put a flux point back here. And it is already hooked up to our solar network. And that's pretty fast. That is pretty fast. Is it going to output fast enough for this to work? Well, that's another thing that I should check. Is this storage bus configured to be priority? It is not. Good thing that I checked that. So this should now priority put terracotta and clay and the rest into here first before it starts filling up our drives. Assuming that this is outputting at all. It doesn't actually look like it's outputting. Auto output on? That didn't do anything. Uh-oh. I may actually have to pipe here. Oh, wait! There it goes! It's climbing! It's climbing! I went ahead and cleared out all of these, and it's going. It is definitely going. It is chewing through our clay. Goodness. Okay, hold on. Let's redstone high for right now because I want to set up a level emitter to make this thing stop. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do that though. Set amount to stock. No, that's fine. Priority is fine. I want to set to where when there's a certain amount of terracotta, this shuts off as well. I don't actually know how to do that because this thing doesn't take redstone filters that I know of. Crafting card or fuzzy upgrades or, tool belt upgrades? Huh. Okay, let me look through my upgrades that are available here and let me see how I can get this level emitter to work with what we have. Okay, so I figured this out. It's actually pretty easy. What I did was I just ran up another level emitter and I put terracotta at 4,000. So if we have 4,000, then I want this furnace to shut off. Now, in order to do that, what I'm going to do is instead of emitting when levels are above or equal to the limit, I'm going to say whenever the levels are below 4,000, we want to create more. And that is going to put off a redstone signal, which I have the redstone as high on this netherite furnace. And as you can see, this thing is chewing through some clay and it's going to get us up to 4,000 terracotta. Actually, no, it's not because I don't have a drawer upgrade on this. So that will never actually happen. Let me go ahead and swap that over real quick and let me get a drawer upgrade for that guy. And there we go. A copper upgrade brings us up to a max of 16,000. However, we're never actually going to get to that. We are only going to stick with the 4,000 that we have set on this filter here. So this thing is going to start running once again. And this guy should continue filling up to 4,000 and then just stop. So nice and easy. That is now clay and terracotta automated. And we got to play with some applied energistics. And the very last thing that I want to do in today's episode is go ahead and get all of our sieve drawers set up to our AE system. So all I'm doing is running storage buses to the underside of the storage controllers, and then we're just going to wire these guys up and everything should show up in our system. And just like that, it's all here. All of our raw iron, raw gold, raw copper, everything. It is all here for us to work with, and no more running back and forth between our sieve setup and our ME system here. Nice and easy storage, and we can start doing some processing with these things. And also, I should probably set up the priority for those drawers as well. Set them to a higher priority so that we don't start filling up our drives, and instead, whenever we put in raw iron and things like that into our system, it goes into the drawer first. So let me set up the priority to 1,000 on all of these just to guarantee that they are filled up first, and then after that, we should be good to go. And you know what? I think this is a pretty good wrapping up point for today's episode. So I do hope that you guys enjoyed today. It was a very nerdy day, that's for sure, with all of the applied energistics knowledge that we had to learn before we could set all of this up. But I hope it was useful. I hope it was useful for you and your systems if you happen to set up any of these things. But yeah, that is going to be it for me. Lots of ore processing, sieve processing, block processing, and also AE storage. Absolutely amazing. That's going to be it for me today. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. You guys have a great day.